What is up? What is up, folks? This is Miguel Fuentes coming at you. Tonight is a super exciting night. With us tonight is the lovely Julia Baxter, who's here to share some of her amazing branding secrets that she has developed through an amazing career as a professional brander for real, large, huge companies. So I'm super excited about this because you're going to get an opportunity to brand yourself the way that they do, the way that the big guys do it. And as always, Scott Lindstrom is here tonight. He's ready to go. We're fired up because this is the inaugural launch of the Influence Tribe. We're super pumped. If you guys have been following us for a while, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but we did a hangout series for over a year. We did about 49 hangouts, and we had a different brand as the Dream Team, which we've come to discover over time. We kind of just went for it. We didn't really think too much about it, and we just went for it, got in it, which was an amazing thing. I'm super grateful for all the work that we did, and I'm very proud of all the work that we did. But it was time. It was time for us to take it to the next level. So here we are. We are the Influence Tribe. We're super excited. We're ready to bring you some value. Scott, you got anything to add to that?
Not right now.
Okay.
We're good to go.
So before I hand it over to Julia, I just want to encourage you, wherever you're watching this at, and you should be watching this on the influencetribe.com. If you're watching this right now, keep in mind, you're about to get some amazing value. You're about to learn something. So grab a pen, get ready to take some notes. I like to open a little notepad on my computer and type my notes out. And keep in mind, off to the side of the page, there is a yellow button there. If you go click that yellow button, you have an opportunity to join us, to join our community, and be able to leverage these hangouts for yourself. So keep that in mind. We're bringing amazing guests like Julia out on a weekly basis to share their value to help you build your business. And now these hangouts can also be yours too. So that was one of the major improvements that we've made to our hangout system, which I'm super duper excited about. Yeah, I'm super pumped. We're ready to bring you some value. We're ready to help you grow your business. We're here to make sure that you create some influence in your world and really put some impact there. So with that being said, I'm going to let Julia take over. I don't want to hog the whole thing here, but once again, this is Miss Julia Baxter. She's an amazing branding expert. So pay attention, take some notes. Julia, how are you this evening?
Great, thanks for having me back. Miguel and Scott, you guys are doing an awesome job. And for those of you who are tuning in, you'll notice that Miguel talked extensively about what the Influence Tribe brand is all about. And they've done a really good job, congrats guys, on branding what this is about. Because, and actually I'm going to touch on some of the things that you've done as we go through the presentation, because Miguel and Scott knew that their brand wasn't representing exactly what they wanted to accomplish. So they went ahead and changed it so that it was really clear and so that you guys know what they're here for. And that's what branding is all about. So I'm glad to be back on the first one for the Influence Tribe. It's an awesome name. And let's just dive right in. So I'm going to, I'm super excited to share this with you. So I'm going to share my screen in a moment. We just tested this and it was all good. So hold on a second.
Scott, how you feeling, my man? You ready to rock?
Dude, this is awesome. This is what we need.
This is exactly what we needed. Just right now, consider this is just fantastic. I'm glad that we took the time to figure it out. Here we are. We've got our own personally branded website. We're ready to rock. I'm going to be quiet now. So,
you
Julia?
guys see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay. So tonight's topic is about building your brand for all you're worth. And the reason I call it that is because when you have an impactful brand, what you're really doing is bringing value to the world around you. You're putting value into the marketplace. And that's what the Influence Tribe is doing. So you're in good hands. So this is where we start. How do you actually build a brand that represents you, that sends the message that you want it to send, that attracts the right people. And why is there so much confusion over what branding really is? You know, you've probably seen a million different things. I mean, 12-year-olds are branding themselves, right? And anybody can learn to brand themselves, which is great. And I'm going to share with you some of my experience so that you know where I'm coming from on some of this stuff. But anybody can do this. And what I want to show you today is how you can do it, but do it like the professionals do. There's no reason for people to be personally branding themselves poorly. So we're going to get you on the right track and get you branded professionally. And the reason for that is because I believe that you deserve better. Whether you're a consumer or you are a professional branding yourself, or you are both. If you're on this, you're probably both. Where you're consuming brands every single day, you're seeing things that work for you, things that don't, and you're doing your best to figure out what your voice is to the world, and you deserve the best. So we're going to get you that tonight. Now, here's what you're going to learn. That's actually me on the left.
I had suspected, Julia, because I remember seeing those pictures when you took them, and I was like, those are slick pictures.
Yeah, well, this is part of branding. Let me tell you, that it's a little side note, but that picture is from our engagement shoot. My husband and I have a fabulous spot in Las Vegas, and we rented out one of the top suites to do this photo shoot because we knew that we were going to be using these photos for our personal brand as a couple, as entrepreneurs, and separately. So we were thinking ahead. When you come from a branding background, you think about those things even in your engagement shoot. So here's what you're going to learn. Number one, first of all, is my sound okay? I heard some crackling. Am I okay?
You sound good to me, Julia.
Okay. How to build you, Inc. by starting with what matters most to you. This is where I start all of my coaching clients. Instead of coming up with a brand first and trying to make it fit something, we start with what matters to you most, and you'll learn that tonight. Number two is how do you create one clear message for your audience. You don't want to be all things to all people, and how do you create that communication? Number three, how do you ensure visual integrity, and what is that? What does that really mean? After I explain what it is, you're going to want it. Number four is how do you increase your value and your influence with a rock solid brand? So here we go. Now, if we haven't met before, Scott and Miguel and I know each other, and they know this about me, but this is news to most of you on here. I am an online marketing and business coach. I'm a blogger, an author, and a branding professional. And what I did for 20 years was corporate marketing and branding strategy. And I share that with you because branding isn't just something that you wake up knowing how to do. It's something you can absolutely learn, and we're going to give you all the basics tonight, but it's not something everybody just knows. I mean, I didn't know it. So that's why the word strategy was in my title. A branding strategist. You have to actually have a plan when you're going to put your branding together. So that's what I had done for about 20 years in corporate for some of the biggest brands in the world. You've got them all in your homes or in your car. And I'm pleased that I had that experience, and I'm also pleased that I don't do that anymore. that I take all the stuff that I learned in corporate and I put that out to people who are branding themselves so that they can brand like the big dogs do without the money and the backing and all of that we thought was necessary. And I coach and consult people, and I show them how to personally brand online. So that's my background there. Now, when I started in the network marketing profession, when I became an entrepreneur, when I started becoming self-employed, I left that corporate rat race a while back now. I actually haven't had a job in 10 years, which I'm super, super excited about. But the reason I'm able to do that is because I took what I learned and I show other people how. What I was doing, though, was doing it for clients, for corporate clients. I was self-employed, but I still had clients, so essentially I still had bosses, right? And what I was facing was struggle because when I became self-employed, I didn't have the budget that I was used to spending when I had somebody else's money to spend on big brands. I didn't have outsourcing like I used to have a staff or agencies that I could hire to represent our brands or get the job done. And I'm talking about huge brands that I represented, Visa, Pepsi, Kraft, some car rental companies and hotel chains, that kind of thing. So you can imagine that they have a lot of money and they have big budgets, they have big staff, they have lots of outsourcing. And I came from an expectation that I wanted that awesome branding without all of those resources behind me. And I struggled because I personally couldn't figure out, well, how am I going to do all of this myself? How am I going to get everything I was used to having with now no money or low budget or just myself to actually make it happen? And that's when I became really excited about solving that for not only myself, but solving it for other people. And a lot of the people that I help are home business entrepreneurs who maybe represent another company or another brand, and they're learning the importance that you'll learn tonight too, about really creating your own voice to the marketplace, regardless of the things that you promote. So I wanted to create professional marketing for everyone, regardless of their experience in marketing, because I could show them how to do this, regardless of their type of business. And I wanted them to have time leveraging so that this didn't become a full-time job for them to create their brand, right? Because your job is not to become a marketing expert in one day. Your job is still, if you're self-employed or you are creating your personal brand, what you want to create is a stream of income and a following and authority and all of those outcomes. Marketing is the route to get there. And I wanted everybody to have results with integrity, so they didn't feel they had to compromise their brand or hire, the next door neighbor to do their cheesy advertising because they couldn't afford better, that kind of thing. So this was my vision. I wanted pro stuff for everybody that they could really be proud of. Because if the big guys could do it, you can do it too. So here was the biggest mistake I saw a lot of entrepreneurs making, and I made this mistake myself, was a lack of focus. And by focus in this arena, I mean trying to be all things to all people. The first thing you want to do in branding yourself is get really clear on who you are, what matters to you, who you serve, what difference you're making in the world. And you might have heard parts of those, but we're going to start at the basic root of who you are, and we're going to focus on that. So I'm going to ask you guys, are you doing this now? Have you started whatever business you're building, your brand that you're building? Have you started it from the inside out, saying, okay, what matters to me most? And I'm going to focus on that, because if you build your brand from that center, then you won't make any mistakes. We'll call them mistakes, but you won't, kind of take yourself a few steps back. If you start with who you really are first, you won't build a brand that doesn't feel good to you. A lot of people try to build a brand. The first thing they do is think, well, where's the money? What's the biggest marketplace? What is everybody else doing? What's popular? Well, if you do that, you might succeed, or you might feel a week or a year or 5 years in that your brand doesn't fit you, that you're doing something that doesn't feel like you. And remember, we're talking about personal branding. So if you're going to make it personal, let's start with you. So we're going to focus on that. So here's what's so sexy about big brands. They're clear on what I just talked about. They have a clear mission. They talk about what matters to them in their boardroom meetings. That's what they're discussing. Are we on task? Are we on mission? What is our mission statement? And are we clearly communicating that mission in all of our marketing, all of our branding? Are we clearly communicating that? Let's tell our audience why they should care about us. And number 3 is clear visuals. And I'll tell you that a lot of people get excited about what I call window dressing. They look at the visuals first. They pick their colors and their logo and their font and everything without knowing what their brand is really all about. People go register business names or URLs In fact, I've done that a couple of times where I have an idea about a brand or a project I'm working on, and I go buy a URL just to make sure nobody else gets it. Then I'm stuck because I haven't actually built the brand from the ground up. I built it just picking a name, and then I'm trying to make it fit. So this is the order that big brands go in. These are the 3 things that they do consistently all the time, and it's why you remember them the way you do. They have a clear mission, they communicate it clearly, and their visuals represent that, and it makes it all work together. So here's how we develop a brand. First, you know yourself. Second, you communicate who you are and what you can do for others. That's second. And number 3 is you create a look, a sound, a feel. That's all the window dressing and the soundtrack and the, the sparkle. I call it sparkle because my brand has that in it. Miguel mentioned that recently. Okay, so we're gonna do a little game, a little test. And Miguel and Scott, if you want to play along, tell me what your answers are to this. We are going to take the brand sparkle test because I'm all about help. Yeah, I'm excited to do this because you guys individually have your personal brands. You don't have to share what those are on this webinar if you don't like. But these are the things you want to ask yourself if you've already created a brand. Have you got these things in place? Okay. Number 1 is, do you know what you stand for? 3 things that you will never, ever waffle about. So this is you as a person. And I actually know what Miguel's core values are. We've talked about that before. My core values, for example, are integrity, creativity, and significance. And don't get hung up on the words. There's a whole exercise. In fact, we did a webinar about core values a while back, this crew. And if you want access to that, talk to the person who referred you here, because you can probably get a replay of it. We talked extensively about building a culture around your core values. So mine are integrity, creativity, and significance. It means that the things I stand for, if they're missing in my experience, before I ever do a job, before I ever hire a client, before I ever create a webinar, I want to know that I'm clearly communicating what I stand for. So I operate in integrity. It's a big deal to me that people follow through on their word. It's a big deal. Creativity. I like to be around creative people. I like to have freedom to create things my way. Even if there is a system, I want to be able to make it my own. That's not important to everybody, but it is to me. And significance, it matters to me that I help people not only succeed, but that what I do has meaning. Mm-hmm. So those 3 things always come up in the things that I engage in. So any brand that I would build, anything, would need to involve those values. So you pick your 3, and I want you to know, do you know what you stand for? So Scott, do you know, you don't have to share the 3 if you don't want to, but do you know what your 3 things would be?
Not off the top of my head, Julia.
Okay. So there's a really easy exercise I have to help people with that. It's a core values exercise. But Miguel has already been through it, so he knows what his are. Right, Miguel, do you remember what they are?
It's changed a bit. I've had a lot of time to consider it.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, it's my family. Like one of my major things right now is being able to change the direction of my family, and that's important to me because, well, I guess you could say humble beginnings or something like that. But I really did come up in a situation where it's not only my life, but I have so many youth and so many people around me that would benefit from having a positive role model. And change the direction of where we're going as a unit. So that's really important to me. So it's definitely family. Contribution is huge to me. I love to contribute to things that I feel are worthy. I love to contribute to worthy causes and people of goodwill. So contribution is huge to me. And then freedom. And freedom.
Yeah,
I got to have my freedom.
Yes. So I'm not surprised by any of those from you, because we've talked about this before, but even if you chose 1, right? I always say there are 3 because it's really hard to get down to 1, but there will be 3 that pop out to you, just things that matter to you, values that matter to you. And I caution anybody who's watching this, try not to to choose words that sound good. Like things that you think would sound like a fancy brand. Ooh, that sounds good, right? Maybe when I said my 3, you thought, oh, those sound good. Well, it took me a week to figure out what they were. It really did. So give yourself a break. If you haven't figured it out yet, we can certainly get you some info to figure that out. But even if you picked one word right now, some of you will know freedom is your word, wealth, success, compassion, contribution, Miguel said, community, charity, creativity. Some of you will have one thing that pops out to you. Okay, so that's question number 1. Number 2, do you clearly state one thing that your audience achieves through you? We're going to do an exercise a little later to help you craft a statement that makes this really easy. It's your brand statement. One thing that your audience achieves through you. So you would have, if you knew what this was, do you help your audience achieve social media engagement? Do you help them get more leads? Do you help them get more sales? Do you help them become better communicators? Do you help them earn more money? What is the end thing that you help them do? So that's question number 2. Question number 3, does your brand look the same everywhere? Miguel?
I'm guilty. I'm very guilty. My brand is, I'm getting there and I'm getting things in place, but I have a few platforms that I need to bring in line for sure. Like the places I don't spend a lot of time, like Twitter, that needs to be sorted.
Well, I know
So
that
I'm
both of
guilty
you
of that one.
guys have a watermark on your Instagram that I've seen. I've seen both of your accounts, right? And that's a good start, and it's one of the elements that we're going to talk about. And this isn't to make anybody feel bad if you're reading these questions and you're thinking, oh no, I'm not doing that. It's just a test, right? Because you do want to get to that point where your brand looks the same everywhere it appears, and I'm going to give you a shortcut on how to make that happen. So ask yourself that question. It's just a yes or a no. Does it look the same? If not, we're going to tackle that. Number 4, do you have a style guide? And I know the answer already for some of you will be no. A style guide, you may not even know what that is. So we're going to, and here's a little funky tip, is if you have a style guide, your brand will look the same everywhere it appears. Now, number 5, kind of a weird question, but does your audience believe you? You probably don't know the answer to this, but you can ask them. You can do polls later on. After you develop number 1 through 4, you'll know, does my audience believe that I'm who I say I am? Meaning, not just the words that you use, and we're not going to get, really serious about this. Your brand could stand for fun. Does your audience believe that you like to have fun? Right? And the reason that you're going to ask this question is it's one last little look at your brand when you've got it all done. Do I really look to other people the way I think I do? There's actually a Seinfeld line I love where Elaine says, is it possible I'm not as good looking as I think I am? And ask yourself that. Is it possible that my brand isn't as awesome as I think it is?
Is it possible I'm a bad dancer?
Yes, is it possible you're a bad dancer? Always ask yourself, is it possible that I'm not as awesome as I think I am? Because we get caught up in our brands, right? And you want to know, to really, really know that your brand believes what you say about yourself. That if you want to represent yourself as the fun person or the freedom person or the serious income person, that everything you put out there develops that image authentically, right? You have to actually be that person, but develops that image clearly so that you're actually putting the right message out and it's getting received. So those are the 5 questions. Okay, so here is why. Well, how was that, first of all? Was that scary for you guys?
There was a question or 2 in there. I really had to think. That it wasn't over the top, but it was definitely easy to understand for sure. But yeah, definitely some of it was challenging. Not gonna lie.
Scott, are you still there or did you die?
No, I'm still trying to, like, I know what I need to be doing, and now I'm like so anxious to just start doing it right now while we're on.
Good. Well, hang in there. I got a little bit more to give you some guidance on getting that done. But I have found that for me and for my coaching clients, asking those questions will keep you on track, because we all are guilty of, you know, that shiny object syndrome, where we see something else somewhere and we think, hey, if I only did a little piece of that, that would be cool. Oh, my audience would love that. And maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But if you keep asking yourself those questions every few months, am I still on brand, on my own brand? Am I still following what I said I was going to do? If you're not, you're going to confuse your audience and they won't know what you stand for. And really, you don't have a brand at all. That's the risk. So if you questions, they're pretty simple, then you'll stay on track. So then, once you're clear on all of that, you're going to tell the internet. You're going to tell people who you are, what matters to you, what you know, how you're succeeding, and how you can help them. That's what a brand is all about. And without, see how much of you is in here? The last part is how you can help them. Because we get all caught up in my personal brand, but it's all about how the other side is receiving it. How does it apply to them? They're asking, what's in it for me? Why do I care? Why do I care who you are, or what experience you have? How can you help me? Okay, so you're going to find your voice through that exercise, and you're going to tell the internet. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because we've got a recorded webinar that's all about this, but you want to clearly identify your core values, and here are a few examples. So, do you stand for personal development in primary opportunities? And that's all they want to stand for. Well, I certainly stand for personal development, but it's not one of my core values that is in my brand. You know what I mean? So fun, glamour. I used to be part of a network marketing company that absolutely had a lot of glamour associated with it, just the image of the people involved. If you really believe in teamwork, then all of the content that you put out will be talking about teamwork and let's go do it. Longevity, are you in it for the long haul, or are you a quick fix kind of person? And I don't mean that in a negative way. You know, there are people who really build their brand around success, love, speed. And then there are people who believe that slow and steady wins the race. Which one are you? Honesty and integrity, they're similar, but they are different. Do you value speed to rank advancement? You know, some cultures and some brands are not about speed. Loyalty, is that a big deal to you? Customer loyalty, loyalty to your customers, efficiency, and you can see some others on here. So figure out what your core values are, and this is certainly not a complete list. I mean, you can pick anything. Just see what matters most to you, get clear on it, and then if you can, get it down to one word that represents you most clearly. And the reason is because your followers want to be told what to think and feel about you before they follow you. That's the truth. They want to be told. If they land on your page and they're not sure, if there's a whole lot of fancy words, I do this and I do this and I do this, or you've got 10 fonts on there, some look fun, some look bold and serious and impactful, or you have 3 versions of your logo. All of those things, even though those aren't core values, they actually reflect you. So when you think about your brand in every aspect, your followers really want you to tell them who you are and what you stand for. I love that this group is called the Influence Tribe. And when Miguel introduced what they do, he said, we want to show you how to have more influence, how to build your brand, how to impact others, how to make more money, how to build your tribes, how to create influence, which is really leadership, right? So when you think about your brand, use any great brand that you identify with. Why you like them is because you know exactly how they want you to feel about them. Okay, so identify your core values. Now, from your core values, you're going to determine, what is my mission? What is your purpose in your brand specifically? Now, you may have lots of things that you love doing. Now, I was watching a video the other day, and these two people were talking about, but they talked so long about their mission, I forgot what it was. And they gave, I think I counted 8 different things they said that they were standing for. We want to do this, we want to help people do this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and they were all positive things, right? Mission is one thing. If it isn't one thing, it's not a mission. It's a list. And nobody says, give me your list. They say, give me your mission statement. So your mission is who you are. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm an athlete. I'm a whatever. Who you help. I help home business owners. I help fitness professionals. Why you help them. And I'm going to give you an example of what you actually do for them. You create your mission, what your purpose is, and then you find an easy way to say that. And this is where everybody gets stuck, right? People just wriggle in their chairs thinking, how am I going to articulate this? So they just say all kinds of things. And what we're going to help you do in the next couple of minutes is get really clear, really succinct, because you want your followers to know what to think about you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So we're just going to call it a quickie blurb. You could call it anything. There are a couple of purposes for this, and I'm going to take you through 2 examples. Taglines, phrases that articulate what we just talked about. They're designed to tell the reader or the listener or the viewer why they're engaging with you. That's what a tagline does. So just do it is a tagline. Well, that's telling the user, that's telling the audience what Nike is all about, right? It's a command to them, just do it. That's a pretty simple one. Those are what taglines do. What a blurb does is, you can call it a tagline, but I'm also going to give you an example to answer that dreaded question. What do you do? Every time you're out with people and they say, what do you do? Wouldn't it be weird to just recite your tagline? So I'm going to give you 2 versions because people get so stuck on the what do you do question. If you can't explain what you do, your tagline doesn't matter. Okay, so here's how you communicate what you do. I help people blank so that they can blank. So I think I have some examples. No. So here are some examples. So when you say people, get specific, right? Because even using the word people, I've put it here so that I can talk to you about it. If you say, I help people, travel better, doesn't mean anything, right? I help people achieve their dreams. I hate that. Oh man, I hate that. I help people live the life of their dreams. Means nothing, right? It sounds nice, but here's the test. If you say your tagline to somebody or this statement, I help people achieve their dreams, and they say, what do you mean? Then you don't get it, or you haven't figured it out yet, right? So I help people, live the life of their dreams is so vague. You want to get specific. So it might be, I help working moms earn more income so they can really be home with their kids. That's not the best example ever, but it's a clear one, right? Because
I understood that.
Yes. If people try to get fancy. If you develop websites and you say, I help people, create an online brand presence that rocks. What does that mean? People have fallen into, rock your business. What does that mean? Like, really rock your business. Do you help people increase their revenue? Do you help people increase their clientele? Do you help people, you know, reduce theft in their business? What does rock your business mean? So I'm just challenging you to get more specific. You could say, I help professional athletes streamline their workout routines so they can keep their full-time job. You know, it could be anything, but this is the model. And I found this to be really clear and successful for people. I can't tell you what yours is going to be, but who do you help and why? And you format it as, I help people this. Actually, I help these specific people blank so that they can blank. It tells them that you help a specific group, and it tells them what the outcome is. Does that make
Julia,
sense?
is that like an elevator pitch?
This can be, and it's actually 5 seconds, right? Yeah, I'm going to give you a better example of that too, Scott. So yes, this could be your tagline or sort of an elevator pitch, and we're coming up to that now. Like this question of what do you do? Because Scott, if you said, well, what do you do? And I said, oh, I help home business owners brand themselves online with social media and marketing to get, you know, great business results, increase their business revenue. If I was really clear like that, you'd say, oh, and you might say, how do you do that, or what kind of business? But you wouldn't be confused about who I help or what I show them how to do, right?
Right.
So here's how we do the elevator pitch. I'm glad you asked that. So if somebody said, what do you do? I actually don't specifically answer it without this. I identify the problem first. So let's say I had a vegan protein bar line. I don't, but let's say I did. And I manufactured them or I sold them. And someone said, what do you do? Well, it's a pretty simple thing to explain, but it doesn't sound very sexy to say, oh, I make protein bars, right? How does that solve a problem for anybody, right? But if, let's say I was at a vegan food fair and somebody asked me what I do. Now that's my market, right? So I would say, well, you know how it's really hard for vegans to get enough protein and find snacks that actually taste good? That's actually a fact. I'm a vegan. I know this. So I would say, you know how it's really hard for them to get enough protein and have snacks that taste good? And they would say, yes, because they're my ideal audience. I'd say, well, I created a line of vegan protein that is clean, whole, easily digestible, and you can buy them online. I could say it like that. So I always open with, you know how, and then I insert a problem. So you know how, I actually said this to somebody today, you know how most people are looking to build a profitable business online. And they always say yes, whether they're one of those people or not. It's a universal thing they understand, right? You know how a lot of people are trying to build an online brand right now. Yeah. Well, I show people how to do that better, easier, more fun, media and marketing strategies that really work. So that is my elevator pitch. Then they could say, oh, what kind of business, and so on. They're not in the dark, and I'm not talking for a long time.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, so you identify the problem first and then position yourself as the solution. And that is your brand. So you know how blah? Well, I help people blah, so that blah. That's the formula. Question, Scott?
We're good.
No,
Okay.
that actually really hits home with me, because I talk to so many people on a daily basis, and probably 9 times out of 10 they're going to ask you what you do. Almost guaranteed. Guaranteed. When you're out meeting strangers,
I
you're out meeting new people.
Yeah, and if you tell them straight out what you do, there's no point of reference. So if you say, you know how a lot of people are trying to lose weight quickly, you know how a lot of people want to lose weight, but they want to eat real food. I used to say that when I ran a clean eating group. You know how they want to lose weight, but they want to eat real food. Yes. Well, I created an online clean eating group, all the recipes and nutrition coaching and so on to make that really easy for you.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad that was helpful for you guys. I find this is helpful for most people because we all get hung up on how to explain. And I was listening to a podcast recently. CEOs often have a hard time explaining what they do because it's complex, right? Our job is to get it down to something really, really simple because people don't want the details at this point. They want to know what you do, how it relates to them, and then they'll ask you questions, and now you're in a conversation. And this works online too, right? If you're having a conversation, a prospecting conversation, and they say, what do you do? I get a lot of the time, what company are you with? I don't answer that question. It doesn't matter what company I'm with. It matters what problem I solve. So I say, well, you know how blah, blah, blah? Well, I help blah so they can blah. And it's just so easy, right? I actually did this in a store yesterday. I prospected somebody for my primary opportunity. He was a really nice guy and said, so, hey, how's your day going? And I said, great. I work from home, so I do what I want. That was just how it came out that time. And he said, what do you think he asked me? He said, well, what do you do? And I used this formula, and he is my new prospect. I got his number.
That's awesome. I think I would have said something, you know how people hate to go to work? I help them not do that anymore.
You could.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, this formula will relate to your brand. Now I want to jump into visual branding because big companies have figured out, and what we've gone through already is, well, what do you stand for, right? Now, if I say I help people blah so they can blah, if I didn't care about that blank, if it didn't line up with my core values, it wouldn't make sense for me to make a brand about it. So that's why we start with what matters most to you, right? Now your visual branding is so important. It is not the most important. It's not, okay. It's equally important. In my opinion, it is equally important. Can you build a brand without great visual branding? Absolutely. People do it all the time, and then they do a brand refresh and they look amazing after that. It happens all the time. Some extremely successful people had crappy visual branding. However, now that it is 2016 and we have so many free tools and we have so much online available to us, you can do this. You can have good visual branding from the beginning, and it will make a difference. It really will make a difference. The most important thing is that your visual brand lines up with the message you're sharing. So if you feel like, oh, I'm not a designer, cool. I'm not a designer either. If you feel like I've never done this before, no problem. There's lots of tools to help you. If you feel like, oh, I'm not an artist, I'm not creative, don't even tell yourself that, because visual branding is going to be easy. I hope it's going to be easy after I share with you some core principles here. So you want to be the same person everywhere. You want to say the same message. You want to look the same because things are moving fast. People do not have time in their day to figure out if the brand they saw you put out there yesterday is the same one that you're putting out today. You want to create things that can easily be identified with you over and over and over. So I'm going to share some really simple things. And you guys have, whatever your brand is, you have all used these things. And I just want to encourage you to be consistent, because your visual branding is the words that you use, the tone that you use. I'm not formal in my brand at all. I write like how I speak. I say things like, you know, you rock and this is awesome, and I'm pretty casual, right? We don't build personal brands all the same, but I'm not a formal person. So I say things like, hey peeps. I can't even think about it because it's just how I talk, right? But a very casual, upbeat tone is representative of me. Yours might be different. Fonts need to be consistent. If you notice in this presentation, I have used 2 fonts. Identification of this presentation, which doesn't have to be exactly the same as my personal brand. It happens to be, but whatever you are creating, be consistent with the things that you use. So your fonts and colors, the size of things. If you do big, fat, bold text in the middle of your memes, then do that. You want people to identify rather your brand easily. Look how fast things show up in Twitter and Instagram and even Facebook. You have to have the same thing every time. Your tagline we've already gone over, your elevator pitch we've gone over, so those I know are going to be consistent now. The backgrounds that you use. Now, if you look at my Instagram, and I know these guys have seen my stuff, I went through a phase where I had the same font, little logo and everything on everything I did. And if I was really clever that day, the meme that I put out would get lots of attention. And if I wasn't, it wouldn't. And that's still the same. However, visual memes is a good example, and ads and that kind of stuff. You want some things to be consistent and some things you can change. So the question is, well, what has to be consistent and what can change? Your backgrounds can change as much as you want when you are doing something that's message. When you're sharing a blog post or you're sharing a meme is a good example, any kind of social post, you can use whatever picture you want. That's not your brand. However, you probably have a certain style. You're never going to see my brand with a bunch of goth images or really, really edgy stuff is not going to be part of my brand, or anything gory or anything really corporate looking, right? There are things that you will automatically avoid. So just write down a few words for yourself that align to your core values, right? That fit your brand. And then when you're looking for images and so on, make sure that they fit. That's all. So, just be you in how you speak, in all of your posts, in all of your content, in all of your advertising. Choose 3 fonts maximum and decide what sizes fit your brand best. Like my titles here, I forget the name of this. It might be Allura at the top, and then I have Calibri is the body text here. I'm consistent with those throughout. Example, but you guys know enough about fonts and colors and stuff. Everybody's playing with that stuff. Just pick 3 that really work well for you, and in one fashion, not bold, italicized, underlined, squished together, stretched apart. Have them show up as one thing all the time. And if you've never heard of it, go to Canva, canva.com. Examples, beautiful examples. That is design software for you. I use that for everything. Now, a logo is not necessary, especially when you first get started. I would highly recommend that you do one as soon as you can, but it's not necessary in the beginning. That's window dressing. So please, 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 if you're first time building a brand, skip the logo. If you need to just get going, skip the logo. That's absolutely the first thing you can skip. Get clear on all this other stuff, on core values and your message and who you're serving and why they should care, and your colors. Pick your colors, and don't worry about a logo yet. Once you're clear on that, then you can really communicate who you are to a designer to do your logo for you. So first, and you haven't figured out this other stuff, you're only going to end up redoing it. I've done it. I jumped ahead and did a logo because I was excited, and then I thought, oh, this doesn't fit anything anymore. A word about colors: choose maximum 3 colors plus black and white. It's best if you choose 2 colors, and you see throughout here I've used like a teal color and dark gray. And then add some sparkle. Here's an example. I literally use sparkle. You can't use these because I trademarked these. But those 3 little sparkles is my brand, actually. Is my brand is all about creating value and pulling out the marketing gems for the people that I coach. So these little 3 things, just as an example, show up on all of my stuff. Every post I ever make, every webinar, every ad has those things on there, and people know what it means, plus your URL. Any questions on this for visual branding, guys?
We're getting that, I think.
Yep,
okay,
we're good.
That's kind of an easy one, but we do it last for a reason. So now, what are people saying about you? Now they know who you are, what you do, who you help, what you help them do, and what you look like consistently. And now, what are they saying about you? I always say this, that the best quote I ever heard about what a brand is was by Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. You want them to say that you are clear, that you're consistent, you're professional, they know what you stand for. Whether they like you or not is irrelevant. You want them to know what you stand for. So you show them what you do, and you show them the way into your brand and how to engage with you by showing them who you are. And that's it. Now you have a clear, concise, amazing, colorful, professional brand, and you're ready to go. So I love this question. Are you ready to get started?
I also love that question. That's a great question. That's fantastic. I love it. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Okay, we're back.
And we're back.
Any questions at all on any of that? Does it make it easier for you to?
I've got one big question.
Yes.
I've got one big question.
Okay.
How does one kind of wield your brand? Like if you're brand new, like how do you kind of like make it? I guess you said go tell the internet, right? How do you wield that thing, like once you've figured it out?
Well, you and I know that we're content marketers, right?
Right.
So everything that you build will have those touches on it. So, example, that webinar I just did looks just like my brand, right? Because I'm clear on it. Every webinar I do is that template now. And I spent some time on it. Now, my Canva files, I've created some templates in there that I've uploaded my little sparkles. They show up on everything, whether I'm on Instagram or anywhere else, those show up. When I'm talking to people and they ask me, who are you? Who are you? What do you do? They're hearing me say that. When I do Facebook Lives, at the beginning, I say, hey, it's Julia Baxter, InsideTheJewelBox.com. If we haven't met before, I am a branding professional. I do blah, 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 right? I say it at the beginning, and at the end of every video, I say the same thing. So it's all about, once you've identified these things, it's repetition. So when you ask, well, how do you wield that? It's repetition over and over and over. And there's certainly some social media things that you can do, like creating your own hashtag. I hashtagged this when I posted this, hashtag the influence tribe, which I assume you guys are all going to use too, right? So it's whatever the brand is that you've created, it's repetition. Yes, you can create hashtags. That's a social media trick. And there's all kinds of other things in your content that you can do. But what we covered tonight are the basics that you can put into everything over and over and over.
That's awesome. That makes sense. Absolutely. The tip about being consistent across your platforms, like that's huge. So I'm totally guilty of that. Like especially with like Twitter, it just I've been a little bit negligent on that one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Scott's right. Your audio is very choppy, but
Is it really? Okay. I'm not sure how I can fix that real quick. Scott, did you have a good question for us, man?
As it relates to branding, from what you've seen, Julia, what do you think so far with what we've been doing, and do you see any tweaks of what we can do with our tribe?
Oh, I like that you went with a new color scheme. I know we talked about that one day. Here's what I love about this brand. The Influence Tribe doesn't really need explanation beyond those words, right? That's what makes a name really nice and clear. If your brand name is not clear, by the way, use your tagline to clarify it. And I know we had talked about that before, but the Influence Tribe, I think your tagline is helping entrepreneurs. I'm not looking.
Make the most of it.
Okay. So you could be clearer about make the most of what? Right? You could say helping entrepreneurs make the most of their marketing, make the most of their leadership, make the most of their connections. I'm not sure. But I think that would be my recommendation, if any, would be just be really clear about what you're helping make the most of. Here's what it really works well with this brand is Influence Tribe, and I know we talked about this, that it is just so cool. Make the most, that's why you went with it, make the most of it.
Yeah. That was our cleverness of it. We were like, we found ourselves extremely clever in that moment.
Yeah. Now I get it. Make the most of it. You know what? I would keep it.
Yeah.
It capitalized?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it works. Okay, so that's a good example where it took me a minute. Took me a minute, and that's okay. I mean, there are times, like my brand, there are times I need to explain what it is, but people need to get familiar too, right? We talked about this once before, that if your brand passes the t-shirt test, if you can put your logo on a t-shirt and it's clear, that's not just about the design, but if the message is clear, you know, your brand has so much potential being it, right? It can be, you know, this is it, we made it, we created it, entrepreneurs.
We are it.
Entrepreneurs are it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, that was like the thought of the way the color scheme came out really, really nice. So I'm super pleased with that because it pops. You see it, you know it, you're like, wow. And it really catches your attention. And I remembered your when you taught us about, you know, the t-shirt, like, holy cow, how amazing would a shield just look on a shirt, like on the front of like it.
Yeah.
Like I'm it. Like I am Influence Tribe. I'm like, I really, really like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, super pumped about that for sure.
That's great.
Guys,
and then in your social media stuff, anything that you use the word influence in is going to strengthen your brand. You know, I have some more thoughts on that we can not talk about on this webinar, but but generic information. I hope this was good for you guys. I hope that you get out and build your brand and don't be shy about it. It's okay to make some mistakes. You know, this is my opinion on how the big brands do it. This is what I've learned really works. Break it down to the simple things. Be able to explain it. Be able to visualize it for you and for everybody else. And always ask yourself those questions. Does this make sense if I'm seeing this for the first time? Can I identify this if I'm seeing it for the first time? And, you know, just simplify it. It's not a hard thing to brand yourself when you really know who you are. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys tonight.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming out, Julia. We're just a little over an hour right now, but I mean, I got to give you mad thank you. I mean, for those of you guys that don't know, Julia was really instrumental on helping us develop our current brand from what it was to where it is now. We consulted with her because we know that she's an expert. Is it bad again?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not great, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, why don't you go ahead and take us out, man? Give us a good call to action, and yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you again, Julia. I really appreciate you coming out and spending your time with us. I know there's a ton of things you could be doing right now, so I want to thanks again.
Thank you, guys. My pleasure. Anytime for the Influence Tribe. This is the place to be.
Folks, if you're seeing this right now, you may be seeing this on a blog, you may be seeing this on our website. You want to go ahead and actually take the $10 trial. I mean, literally, that you're getting literally a business in a box, and you're going to help build your brand. This is all about you. It's about helping you become a better marketer. It's about helping you become a better, you know, online entrepreneur. And most of all, you have our complete and utter support, as well as an entire community. So what I like to do right now is find the button somewhere, either next to, above, or below this video, or the link, and go ahead and take the trial now. And with that, Miguel, hopefully we will go ahead and clear up the audio issues next time. And, you know, I understand the internet is completely unpredictable. So with that, I want to thank everybody for attending tonight. Look forward to seeing you all next weekend, next Friday, on the same channel, same place. So thanks again.
Good night, everybody.